Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to On the Rise with Yolanda Lupton and my new sidekick and co-host, Dr. Angelle Richardson. Welcome, Angelle. Introduce
Thank
yourself
you,
to
thank
everybody.
you. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to be with you and so excited to be a part of On the Rise. I am Dr. Angelle Richardson. I'm a family therapist. I am a professor, and I am excited to be here so that we can be on the rise, where we can go up, elevate, and hopefully we can get together and talk and share about the things that are important to all of us. So, Yolanda, thank you for having me.
Girl, you act like you a guest, you a co-host now.
I got to get used to this.
That's so awesome. Basically, you guys can check us out here. We're going to start putting up shows every Thursday at 7, live show streaming. And you can check us out on Instagram at On The Rise, and I think it's On the Rise Talk. I gotta go back and check that. And then it's On the Rise here, and then On the Rise Talk Show on YouTube. So like and subscribe, or as they say now, smash that subscribe button and the like button for us. Just wanted to put that out there. Started this show like 2 years ago, and now we're gonna rebrand it. We have a whole new logo and a new co-host and some new jingles, and so we're trying to get everything back online. But I am so excited because Dr. Angelle Richardson is a very special person to me. She is my sorority sister. We are both members of the illustrious and royal Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to all the sorors. And we both actually came in through the same undergrad chapter, right, Angelle?
Yes, we did. Lambda Pi. Shout out to all of our explorers from Lambda Pi.
Yes. Yes. We have been friends for many, many years, but as all of you have been in COVID this last year, COVID has really brought, moved people, I'm just going to say it, out of my life, but also brought some beautiful friendships or deepened some friendships that were in my life. What about you, Angel?
Yeah, it has. I think COVID has been the space where it's shifted a lot of things, right?
Yes.
So, absolutely, some things have shifted out, but some wonderful things have shifted back in or come back around, where, like you said, absolutely deepened. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So, Angel, do you want to kick it off and start telling them about how we met, like how our
Yeah.
friendship developed, and then we'll tell them about how we ended up in this space together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a lot of people don't know. Yolanda and I both, we transferred into what was then Trenton State College. I know some of y'all know it as the College of New Jersey, but back then it was Trenton State College. We both transferred in at the same time. And I was a second semester freshman. I was brand new. Most of y'all not gonna believe this, but I was kind of shy. And Yolanda was in the freshman orientation with me, and she was who she's always been. She was bubbly, she was sweet, she was nice. And I really was going in this room kind of shy and saw this other brown girl sitting in the room who was smiling and friendly. And so I was immediately drawn to her and went and sat next to her. And she had it going on. She knew what she wanted to do. She actually knew what sorority she wanted to be a part of. She knew all these things. And there was this part of her that was just like, in a lot of ways, intimidating to me because she had it together and I didn't. But was also so endearing because it was like, oh, wow, she has it together, but she's also so kind and so sweet. And so that's where we first connected. And then she went ahead and she became a Sigma Gamma Rho. And then a few years later, I also joined the sorority. And Yolanda was my big sister. And Yolanda was just this sweet, wonderful person that I was always able to be connected to. And we were just fast friends and connected and just, she's always been, I say, everybody's mom because she has this spirit of just loving on you and giving you this advice and taking care of you. And she does that for everybody. And she absolutely did that for me. And, life goes on and you kind of go your way and do what you do. And I'm just grateful that we've been able to go our ways and do what we do and come back together in this space.
Yes. Angel, every time you tell that story, I'm always laughing because you're saying, like, I had all my stuff together. Girl, I did not feel like I had all my stuff together. I was sitting there with you. We were both new to the scene. We were just trying to figure out what was going on. And it's so funny you thought I had it together. I did not have anything together. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just happy to be, transferred into that space. And it's always beautiful hearing like other people's view of you. And because I was excited to see you too. Like there wasn't many of us as normal in that room. So for me, I was just happy to see another brown girl, as you put it, some black girl magic up in that room. We didn't call it that back then, but now we do. So, but it was amazing. And you are always saying just a sunny disposition. I always just like love connecting with you. I even remember the nights when I wasn't staying on camp. Well, I didn't have a dorm on campus. I used to go camp out in your room and we would stay up all night talking when we should have been asleep because we had class the next day. So it is wonderful how our friendships get built in those moments, right? Of just, we're young, we're trying to figure things out together. And it was a wonderful thing when I became your big sister, when we really connected in that space, and then many
Yeah.
years after that. But I'm so happy that at your accomplishments and all the things that you've done. I love your heart towards our youth
Oh,
and
thank
families
you.
and keeping them on track, because Lord knows we all need a therapist to help us out or somebody in our life to give us guidance and direction. And I tell y'all, she does a wonderful job with that,
Oh, thank
using her own
you.
story, using her own life and experiences, and helping other young people really sort through that. So I am so honored that you are taking this journey with me. And it's extra special because I love you and you have been a part of my life for many, many years. And I'm so grateful that we have reconnected. Not
Yeah,
just here, but not just here in
it's
this
life,
space, but even in other
right?
spaces together this week. So I'm so
So,
grateful to have you with me.
oh,
So
thanks. I love you
I
too.
know. So so basically, we have this wonderful vision for the show. Um,
Mhm.
it'll follow some of we still want to elevate your faith, mind, and life. We'll still do that. Both of us are women of faith. And
Mhm.
Dr. Angel, you want to talk about how you've grown over the last few years in that space with yourself as far as your faith and how you use that in your daily life and also with your clients and how you operate.
Yeah, yeah. So I think one of the things that, I think it's for all of us, we come through life absolutely growing throughout all of our experiences. And I think, especially in the last few years, really being able to figure out who I am and really being able to be comfortable with my faith and how I believe, and not necessarily being defined by how other people want to define me, but being comfortable with what I know about myself. And that has been really important, recognizing that I am who God has created me to be, and recognizing that very much in that I am open to so many things, right? Recognizing that I am a person who believes that God is love and that God loves everybody. And that is all inclusive. And that goes into all of the work that I do. That when people are struggling with so many things, it really is important especially when people come to me and they're like, I'm struggling with this thing, and does God still love me? Absolutely. Absolutely, he does, right? And that there are so many messages that we get and that I got, growing up in this space around like, God doesn't love you because of this and God that doesn't love you because of that. Being able to really settle in this space of the God that I serve is a God that loves everybody. And so being able to sit with people and be like, my faith is a faith of a God that is a loving God and a God that loves everyone. And really being able to grow in that, but also to sit in a place where that is honestly what I believe, and being able to walk away from some spaces where maybe that wasn't the belief, right? Maybe that was a space where, you know what, we don't necessarily God believe, believe God loves this person or God loves that person. And it's like, well, if that's what you believe, then that's not a place that's comfortable for me. And I'm okay with saying that now. And maybe there were times where I was growing up where I wasn't necessarily comfortable with saying that. And now it's like, no, I am okay with standing in this space of, nah, this is what I believe, and it's okay.
Amen. I hear all of that. I think this has been a very hard year for a lot of us. And I
Yeah.
think I will be honest with you, even my faith has been challenged in just some of the people that I have had previous relationship to, and understanding like it's not as um, black and white as we all make it seem. And we all come from that space of everybody has something that they're working on. None of us are perfect. And we need to find a space in our faith to love people who are not like us. And I will tell you, that has been very difficult for me in this past year in certain spaces. I've had to reevaluate my own heart and how I feel about the way certain individuals are treated. Our brothers and sisters in faith who are, people of color, and how they are treated in different spaces. It has been a lot to grapple with. And I think that if you're not struggling with it in some way and trying to figure out where your heart lands on certain issues, and just the we always talk about forgiveness, but also repentance and saying I'm sorry, and really standing in spaces with people trying to figure out how everybody can be seen and heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long year. It's been
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
long year.
Absolutely. But Yolanda, I think that you bring up this other piece though of also us being self-reflective, right? And I think that's been an important piece of all of it is how are we able to be self-reflective and even check ourselves, right? And can we sit in this space of maybe I got it wrong, right?
Mm,
Maybe what I was thinking wasn't right, or maybe how I treated some people wasn't right, or maybe what I believed about something before was what I believed then, and maybe I need to shift my beliefs on some things given what I know now. And I
yes.
think that's also been a change in some relationships because maybe I had to shift and say, okay, I need to be with people who are also self reflective and can also say, just because we did it that way before doesn't mean that's how we're going to do it now. And okay, I can also allow you to self correct and do that too, and we can grow together. And I think, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about relationships as we're
Oh,
doing
yes,
this.
we will. We definitely will.
But that's part of it too, that space of like, how do we grow in relationships? And part of it is being self reflective and making adjustments and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think that's so important what you said there, Angela. And I think this whole quarantine kind of gave us a time to sit with ourselves. Like we couldn't
Oh,
go
yes.
anywhere. We were cut off from everything. And I really do believe that's why so many people are exhausted, because not only with the pandemic, you were dealing with the threat of the pandemic as far as the disease, the virus and the disease, but we also had to deal with ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to sit in spaces and go, ooh, this may not be
Mhm,
something I want to do anymore. These people
mhm.
may not be who I need to be with right now in my life or where I'm going. Or maybe I need to develop certain relationships more in this space. Like I
Yeah.
will tell you, for me, for Scott and I, we actually started a marriage like e-group where we formed a community with each other, because we were like, you know what, we need community in this way right now. So it was a great way for us to connect with others. And let me just tell you, there's a lot of people who were and are still reevaluating their marriages, how they run
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Why did I marry this person? Like,
Mhm.
what was I thinking?
Yeah.
In this space, and it gave people time to slow down, and you're not over here and the other person's not over there. So now you really have to sit with each other and wonder, like, well, who did I marry and who did we become and what
Mhm,
is going on? And so yes,
mhm.
I agree with you with all of that. It was is a huge space of reflection, not
Yeah.
only for others, but for me, I know as well. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think also, you're talking about the marriage piece of it, but for those of us who are single, really having to sit with yourselves, right? Like when you're there by yourself and there's nobody there and you can't necessarily go out, like really having to sit with yourself and think about, like, okay, what has happened in my life, right? Whether I've had trauma, whether I've had relationships that didn't work, what are even my family relationships, whether they were positive or negative, and really evaluating all of what are my friendships like, really evaluating all of those things. And I think it's really interesting, like I've said a few minutes ago, like people may not recognize, but I'm an introvert by nature, right? And so like I can go out and I can be like, hey, whatever, and then I need my time by myself. But even those who are introverts, there's a certain time when it's like, all right, I've been home long enough now. Like, y'all gotta let me out of here. But sitting in that space and being like, oh wow, okay. So I haven't spoken to this person, or I haven't spoken to that person, or why. You really start to evaluate what your relationships look like and why, and all of those things, and who are the people that you want in your life and who are the people that you don't, and all of those relationship things. It may not be around marriage or partnership, it may be around those other things. And so this time has given, I think, everyone an opportunity to think.
yes. And that's one of the other reasons I'm so glad you're here with me. We get so many good perspective because I'm married, you're not. We both have
Yeah,
different types of relationships with all different types of people. And so I
yeah,
think this is one of the things that for the show that I thought you would be a great asset to the show because it we do have different views and we sit in
yeah,
different spaces and
yeah.
places. Dr. Angelle is a professor at Thomas
Mhm.
Jefferson University, which I'm so excited for her. She does a lot of great things there. You want to tell the audience about some of the things you do at Thomas Jefferson?
Well, I teach family therapy, I teach diversity, I, do all those things with my students. And so I think that's kind of the piece of it. Working with students and really trying to advocate to help people be better counselors. I think one of the things that's really important is that we've especially learned in this pandemic that, people really do need therapy, and they really want a safe place to go to talk about some of those things. So really working to ensure that people that are coming out to do counseling, and specifically trauma counseling, have a good and safe place to go and talk about it. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I am. As a life coach, I don't do therapy, but I
mhm,
also, speak with people about goals and dreams that they want to obtain and give people a strategy to move forward. I think that
yeah,
was the other thing I think some people may have realized during this time, whatever the goal or whatever the relationship or whatever the dream that they have in their heart that they want to pursue, because now we've been reflecting, maybe even with myself, I came out of this going, I don't think I want to do certain things anymore, but now how do I shift into this new season, right? And so much of what I do is, looking at where people are right now. Where do you want to go? What types of resources you have available to you? And how do you move into that new mindset? Because, you and I both know, whether it's therapy or coaching, that really where you go is based on what you're thinking and your mindset around, like, how do I feel about myself in this moment moving forward? And as you so eloquently put it to me before, change is trauma, right?
it is. It is. It is. People don't recognize that, right? Like we can look at all these different things, and it's like, wait, no, and it's like, that may have been a trauma for you.
Yes.
That may have been a trauma. You had to give up this thing. Look at all these things that you've lost. And well, that was fine. No, maybe it wasn't. Or, how did you adjust to that? Do you know how to change? Do you know how to shift into the space? Well, I don't. Hmm. Okay, let's process this out. And I think it's important, people, they often need someone to process it with, and they don't recognize that, right? They may need someone to coach them through the process. and they don't recognize that. And so recognizing like, yeah, your girlfriend, she's not your therapist. That good friend that you hang out with all the time, they're not your therapist too.
Exactly.
Your best friend over there, that's not your life coach. You need these other people that are
Yes.
more objective that can help you along this road.
Because, girl, we all know truth is hard to take. And, some of our friends and family are very well intentioned, but they don't
Yes.
tell us the truth all the time. So
Mhm.
we have to have somebody objective to really look at that. And I love because what you do and what I do kind of work hand in hand because you can have a
Yeah,
therapist and a coach at the same time.
absolutely.
Or sometimes you need to
Absolutely.
work with that therapist and then get a coach. So,
And then
so I think
and I
that
think
is
the other
excellent. Like the way that you
yeah.
put that changes it is trauma. And even though change can be a good thing, it you still go through, and I know from my own experience, that grieving process of letting go, right?
Yeah.
And we have
Yeah.
had a lot of grieving in the
Mhm.
last year,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially the Black
We
community and communities of color.
Yeah, we've had a lot of grieving, and one of the challenges of the pandemic is we haven't been able to honor our loss, right? So we haven't been able to have the ceremonies. We haven't been able to have the rituals. I think one of the challenges that we've always had with racism, with social injustice, with racial injustice, is that we felt like the loss hasn't been honored. But when we have these things that continually happen, and then it's like, okay, so this person's not going to be convicted, or we feel like, okay, so this person will get sentenced and that person won't, it feels like it invalidates the loss. So then,
Hmm.
how do you honor this loss that feels like it's been invalidated? And I think also in this space where we're saying, well, you have to stay home, which it was for everybody's safety, right?
Hmm.
But it also was like, but I don't have my community to join with to say, we're grieving together and we can honor this loss together. So it's been this compound loss and this compound grief that's been going on. And then it's like, well, you shouldn't be outside doing all these things because you're going to make yourself sick. And it's like, but I got to grieve together. I need
Yes.
my community. And that's been part of the challenge for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. That was one of the things I told you, one of the reasons we decided to start a marriage community.
Yeah.
Um, we that was a space that I realized I needed for myself.
Yeah.
And I realized others needed that. We needed to come
Yeah.
together. And it's so ironic. Like, when I talk to the other couples, in the group, we all talk about how, wow, like, you didn't know you needed that in the middle of that. And then when you got it, you were like, this is great. Like, like we went through so much trauma and tragedy together from, losses for people. People had people that lost family members from COVID, friends from
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
We had a couple of people that had COVID in our group, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
walked through that space with them.
Yeah.
Also, everybody had those little things going on. Everybody was processing differently. And so in your family, you and your spouse are bickering over stuff like, stuff that normally you wouldn't have even had a problem with. But because we stuck in the house together and everybody has to be in the same space so long, you start going through with your kids, with the dog, with the
Oh,
cat, with whatever you're
please,
dealing with, right? So
please.
um it was a year. I will be
It's a
honest with
lot.
you. It was a year,
It's a
and
lot.
I'm grateful for all the people that I had in my life that helped me remain, sane, if you could call it
Right.
that. I just think that we were all kicking in our coping mechanisms. I just had a few
Right.
more in my toolbox I could deal
Right.
with.
Right. But I told a lot of parents, I was like, people did not necessarily plan to be stay-at-home parents. Like you were like having kids and being like, you know what, when I have this child, I want to stay at home with them 24/7 for a year. Like the plan was, okay, you're going to go to school, then you'll come back home. It wasn't, I'm going to homeschool you. And yes, there are parents that are wonderful stay at
Yes.
home parents, right? There are parents that homeschool and love it. Absolutely. That is not everybody's ministry.
No. Nope.
The everybody, people watching will now know I had,
Yes.
my niece was living with me on and off for a period of time. And snow days would come, and I was like, so when y'all opening the school back up? What you mean you want them to be here? The school's closed again? You sure you can't shovel out the parking lot? Right? So I understand. Not So now they're home for wait. And I remember because we had a project going on in one of the high schools here in Philly. So we were doing therapy in the schools, and it was like Philadelphia schools are closing for 2 weeks. Okay. Okay, no, you're closing for the rest of the year because of COVID.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, these parents, oh no. Right? And then parents I was working with were like, what? No, people didn't plan. So that was not the plan when you were doing your family planning
No.
to be stay-at-home parents. And especially with like for you, like you got teenagers at home.
Girl, yes. Not just teenagers, young adult and
Right.
teenager. That
Right.
was like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be at college. I'm only supposed to have to deal with one right now. And girl, I can't keep nothing in my refrigerator and pantry. These kids are eating up everything. Like, I just don't even think most parents are ready for the food budget. Let me just be honest with you. Like if we were just being real, you love your kids,
Right.
but I was like,
Right.
Lord Jesus, wait, and then food was running out. People were hoarding stuff. So it's like you can't get meat. You can now we gotta get creative with where we can find food and look, Lysol, Clorox, like whatever
Right.
it was. It
Mhm.
was just
Toilet
one of
paper.
those times where you were just like, what it was like everything was happening at one time, right? Like you said, it was like all of this stuff you didn't anticipate just started coming
Mhm.
at you right at one time and you're sitting
Mhm.
there like what is going on with everybody, like what is
Right.
happening. And I agree with you, it was no one was ready, we were not ready, and how could you ever be
Mhm.
ready for a pandemic at this proportion, right? And
Right.
the way that things were going. And I definitely agree with all those parents you talked with. It was like I wish you're trying to manage your emotional state around what's going
Yeah.
on. Then you have, okay, how are we gonna provide for our family? Because some people lost
Yeah.
their jobs. That was real. Some
Absolutely.
people,
Right.
there were people who are the only breadwinners and ended up losing their jobs and they had
Yeah.
kids. And now
Yeah.
there's that worry and concern on top of that. Then
Mhm.
you're worried about, oh, okay, your kids' mental health. How are they doing
Mhm.
school? I have one in
Mhm.
college and one in high school. Very different
Right.
experiences. Like one's an introvert, one's an extrovert.
Mhm.
Very different experiences. I
Yeah.
am trying to parent two different children in two different
Mhm.
stages. Oh, and by the way, I got called back to work in the middle of that. That was a
Right.
whole lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And then that experience of, not being able to be with their friends, right? How do you explain to a teenager who absolutely feels like I'm invincible, I'm not going to get this
right.
thing, that you can't go hang out with your friends? Really?
Yeah.
And you get called back to work. So wait, but you can go to work and I can't go hang out with my friends?
There you go. There you go.
Trying to do all of it.
Yes.
Hmm.
And that's what I mean. I think like that is why this year it was funny because I really thought I would relaunch the show last year, and I guess it
Yeah,
wasn't God's timing to do that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I did not have the mental or creative space to even think
yeah,
about relaunching the show because I was in the middle. It just felt like an onslaught every day. It was like I'm in the middle of
yeah,
all this stuff. There's no way I could do this. But I know all of that was God's timing because now that
yeah,
it gave me time to reconnect with you, and we both were in the same space as far as
yeah,
what we wanted to do and how we wanted to make this a space. So let's just talk about that. How we both
yeah,
envisioned. Dr. Angelle and I actually were able to present for our sorority
yeah,
a great workshop, which is going to become a series on here. We'll talk about that more later at the end. And it was funny because you and I just had a conversation after one of our conferences, and we joked
yes.
about how, you know what, we should go together and do a workshop or something like that at one of our
Mhm.
conferences. And I'm gonna let you talk to them because you jacked me up when you called me in January, and I was just not ready, and you just popped
Ah,
up out of the blue.
I did. But look, so we talked about this after the conference. And then it just so happened I was asked to present at one of our sorority conferences. And at the last minute, I was told that I could add somebody. So on, I think it was Sunday or Monday, I called you and said, "Hey, Yolanda, I was told I could add somebody to do this with me.
Yes.
It's going to be on Saturday.
And I
I
said,
have
what, a
most of
week?
it
Not even a
together,
week. Not even a week.
not even a week. Would you be willing to do this with me too?" And what did you say?
And I said, Dr. Angelle, it is just funny. Well, I said Angie because I don't call you Dr. Angelle
Yes,
because you're
you'll
still
call me Dr.
Angie to me,
Angel.
but I respect that doctor. I'm just telling you. Um, I said, it's funny because during my year of reflection,
Uh-huh.
and as I was beginning the new year, I always write in my journal and reflect on the year. I read Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year Yes, and God told me that this year was my year of yes, that I was going to step out in places that I had not stepped out before and start saying yes to things that were different from what I was comfortable with. One of the things that he was dealing with me about was that I was getting way too comfortable in what I knew and could do. And so this was not going to be that year for me. And I will tell you, it's definitely not. And so I said, yes. I said,
Yes.
Angel, I will do this with you. Even though I feel like I'm crazy right now, we only have a week. I will do this with you.
And not to mention, we had a week to put together a 4-hour
Yes.
presentation.
I was like, 4 hours? What are we going to talk about?
But we did it.
We
And it was
did.
great. And
It
we
was
had a
wonderful.
ball. We had such a good time.
And
We had
out of
such a
that
good
space
time.
grew our, I said to her, I said, we can do this together.
Yeah.
What we like to do is make a safe space where you can come and we want to share about issues that are on our heart and things that we're dealing with and we hear others in the community dealing with. And let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Let's make this a space where we can have open dialogue and we can talk about it. Dr. Angela and I have access to some great resources, and we love, as
Mm-hmm.
I always did with the show, I always love sharing resources because I don't believe you should come here and just hear us speak. How about
Right.
grab some of these resources and do the work at home, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many great
Absolutely.
tools out there for everybody to grasp and be able to put in
Mm-hmm.
your toolbox for times of
Yep.
change and trauma and areas where we all need to do some work, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all do. I mean, I think that's the most important thing. Like what you said earlier, like we don't have it all together.
No, no,
So not even to pretend that we do.
no.
We don't. But to be able to give resources because the resources help us, so we want to help others.
Yes, I think when you find a good thing, girl, like when we find a good coupon on, some
What?
shoes or a purse, or when there's a sale going on, we
Mm-hmm.
always let each other know, right? We need to do the same thing about working on ourselves, right?
Yes.
We need to jump in there and we need to talk about those things and let's deal with these deep rooted
Yes.
issues, right? Let's
Yeah.
talk about some of
Yeah.
this stuff. Like this
Yeah.
is a no judgy zone. Like we
How
are
about
not here
that?
telling you we are the quintessential authorities on any. No, we're telling you this is stuff we're working through.
Mm-hmm.
So if it worked for me, let me pass it on to you. And it may not.
Yep.
Take what you need and chuck the rest, right?
Yep. Yep. And if it doesn't work for you, maybe it'll work for somebody else you know.
There you
If you
go.
don't need it, maybe somebody else does.
That's why I always say keep rising and bring somebody with you because
Appreciate
if
it.
it doesn't work for you, pass it to somebody else that can use it. And we all need to be watching out for each other. If this last year has not taught us anything, is that we need each other.
Yep. That's the
And we all
truth.
need to be
That's
watching
the
and looking
truth.
out for each other.
Mm-hmm. That is so true.
Because as one person said recently, you're not just your sister's keeper. I think that, look, I was watching too much Ilana Van Zandt. She said, you're not just your sister keeper, you are your sister. And I have found in this season that that is really true. We
That's so true.
have to realize that even though we're not the same person, there are parts of us that are broken the same.
Yeah.
And honestly, Angela, I don't know about you, but I tend to connect to people more in my brokenness than in my put togetherness when we're actually
Yeah.
really vulnerable. That actually makes for better
Hmm.
friendships, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think so. I think so. I think one of the things that is challenging sometimes is when people act like they've never been broken or they're not broken, because it's like, well, wait, can we really be friends? Because
Right.
if I show you my broken pieces, are you going to then judge me? Are you going to, oh, wait,
Yeah.
no, right? And it's funny. I remember when I had my niece living with me and she was a baby when she was 5 or 6 months old, and I called you. And I'm like, she won't go to sleep. I called you and another friend of ours. She won't go to sleep. And I'm like, okay, they're going to think I'm crazy because I can't put this baby to sleep. We're like, Angelle, what is wrong with you? And y'all were like, do you know about a super bottle? Let me tell you about this.
Yes.
But that piece of being like, and literally, I was like crying at night, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this baby. And it was like, girl, let me help you. But those spaces where it's
Yes.
like, and we'll talk about other times where you have helped me too, but
Yes.
those times where it was like, okay, I can be vulnerable. There are these
Hmm.
things that I don't know, right? And I think we sometimes get stuck in these spaces of I'm
Right.
supposed to know everything. I'm supposed to do, I'm this person. I do this thing. And
Yes.
when we can really be like, nope, I don't know this, or I'm broken in this way, or I've been through this thing. I don't have to be perfect. I
Amen.
can
And
just
I think
be.
that is something we all have had to learn because same on this side, I have come to you with parenting issues, with like therapeutic stuff, and I'm like, Angel, I do not know what is happening to this child. She was fine yesterday, and now today we have all these issues going on. Like, what should I be looking? I think that is such a wonderful thing that
Yeah,
I have those people who are resources in my life because I
yeah.
know I don't know everything. And I know that there have
Mhm.
been times when I've been about to pull my hair out and I can call one of you guys and I can like
Right.
sit in that space and say, listen, I've had enough. Can you please help
Mhm.
me try to figure out what's going on with this? And I love that that is available, but that is only
Yeah,
available because I'm willing to be vulnerable. And we don't
absolutely.
have to be perfect. We just have to make progress, right?
Yeah,
Like we just don't. Like we need to get out of this
right.
thing like we can't fail. Just because you fail, you're not a failure, right? You
Well,
just
when we fail, we're learning.
yes, you eliminated an option. Like
How about
that's
that?
not it. And so I
That's
think
right.
that's sometimes why we just stay in our our little bubbles and stuff like that and we really
Yeah,
don't reach out and really use those wonderful people we have in our lives. And like I
yeah.
said, we have got to stop. If this year has taught us nothing, that is
Mhm.
not the space we need to be existing in because
Mm-mm.
none of us have all the answers to everything.
Right,
And
right.
we, like you said, we need that human support. We need people
Mhm.
around us to, bring us back to ourselves when we're falling apart and we
Yeah,
feel frayed at the
yeah,
edges. I can tell you I've talked to more than one mom, more than one wife, more than one person, more
right.
than one woman who has just been through. I just had a meeting with a young lady on Monday and she had been through a horrible season. She was
Mm.
engaged. She ended up they broke up
Mm.
and now she's trying
Right,
to rebuild her life again,
yeah.
off of what's left. And while
Right.
she's doing it and she has a little son, it is just, been a season of loss
Yeah,
and grief. And she's
yeah.
grieving the things that she thought she would have with this person. And now she doesn't. And so thank God she has her family around her to surround her. But I think
Right.
we just don't realize how much we need that.
Absolutely.
And I think this year has really magnified that and made
Right.
it like more prominent. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
We have, our text chain. And that for me has been phenomenal, right? Being able to be like, girl, this day, I'm gonna throw everything out the window, right? Be like, girl, me too. Okay, all right, all
Yes.
right. And then just being able to send like a little joke and be like, okay,
Yes.
we can laugh through this. Okay, I can breathe. All
Yes.
right, I'm not gonna punch anybody in the face.
Or
We're
say
gonna
some
have a
things
great
that I
night.
have no business saying. So
Right, like, okay, let me keep my mouth shut. But having that space
yes.
to be able to say, like, I want to punch somebody in the face. You're
Right.
not gonna punch anybody in the face, but I want to punch people in the face too. Those things are important, and having those people around you that you can be real with,
Hmm.
that aren't gonna be like, wait, we're supposed to have it together. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, girl. I don't like that is one thing I can say that I am grateful for friends who give me that space to just
Right.
as someone once told me, take the mask off, right?
Right.
Just take
Right.
it off. Like I
Yeah.
think too, you know, being in certain professional spaces, we have to wear these
Hmm.
masks. You know, we only can allow
Absolutely.
so much of our personality, or we only can allow
Right.
women do this every day, right?
Yep.
We have to be different people in the different areas of our lives. And so that is
Absolutely.
why having these wonderful places with the people that are
Hmm.
close to us, and you don't need 10 people. I'm not telling you you need
Not
10
at
people,
all.
and your
Mm-mm.
inner circle should be maybe one or two people that you know in the middle of the
Hmm.
night you can call, ask them for anything, and you know that they
Right.
will jump on, or even if they just need to sit on the phone with you for a long
Right.
time. You know, I know, like, I don't know about you, but it seems like there's a deterioration in good girlfriends. I think we done got too
Girl.
much in the Real
Girl.
Housewives that we don't understand what being a friend is anymore.
I think you're right. I absolutely agree. Good girlfriends are, but you know what? I think this is the other thing. I think as we get older, we recognize what good girlfriends are,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
think when we were younger, we thought like everybody could be a good girlfriend. And
Right.
as we got older, it's like, nope, that's not what a good girlfriend is.
Right.
I think it goes back to what you said before. Like a good girlfriend is somebody that's going to tell you the truth and hold your hand when you need it, right?
Yes.
And before it was like, and we've said this before, like when we see somebody walking down the street looking at us like, you don't have no good girlfriend. But when we were in our 20s, we just wanted to look any kind of way. If girl, hey, girl, gas me up. Now it's like, nah. So I think as we got older, we really recognize what a good
Yes.
girlfriend is. So it is like, yes, my friends, I know people, but my good girlfriends, that list is very tiny. And
Yes.
that's okay
Yes.
because I don't need all those people to like me. It's
Yes.
okay because I know who my circle is and who the people are that have my back.
Yes. And that changes. That can change.
Yeah.
There are a few that will
Yes.
stay forever. I have like two or
Yeah.
three. They have been day, as they call day ones, and they are
Right.
always going to be there for me. And then there's
Yeah.
others that are a little outside the circle. I view my friendships, and I will be honest,
Hmm.
Angela, I had to learn that, like, you have different layers of friends. Like, you have those
Hmm.
friends that are like inner circle. I call it
Hmm.
like a gated community, right? You got the ones that
Yes.
are in the house, and then you got the ones
Right.
that's kind of on the porch, and then you got the
Right.
ones that's in the yard, and then there's people that's outside the gate. They don't get to be up close in the
Right.
party, right? Like you got to have
Hmm.
like layers, and nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that either. I realized because different friends serve different purposes in your life, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody is not supposed to be inside at the party. And I had to
Yeah.
learn that. I had to get my feelings hurt, my heart broken a couple times. Well, not just a couple, a few times. Just,
Hmm. I'm
till I
with you.
got to that point where I realized
Yeah.
like everybody is not supposed to be in the house, right? Like
Yeah.
you got some
Yeah.
people that's going to be on the porch and in the yard, and
Yeah.
that's okay. You don't have to bring
That's
everybody in
okay.
the house. So,
You don't. You don't.
yeah.
You don't. But you wouldn't eat everybody's food. So everybody shouldn't be eating your food either.
Girl, why you start talking about the cookout already, Lord Jesus? You took it right where you took it right where we always go to the food. Right to the cookout, girl.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But I think you're right. We had to get our heart broke a few times, right?
Yep.
People that you trusted. Look, even Jesus had a Judas.
Come on. Come on. But
He
Judas made him
had
better though.
that part. We wouldn't be who we are. We wouldn't know what we know if it wasn't for Judas.
Yep. Yep. Judas made him better. And I think back to that, like we don't like going through those experiences, but they actually make us hone in on who we are and what we need.
Yes,
Right? It's
absolutely.
hard. It's hard when you get hit and you're trying to process through it. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, I became a better friend, and
yeah,
I became better at picking and choosing friends because
yes,
of what happened.
yes,
So,
yes. I think the reality too is I can also admit that I haven't always been the best friend of people,
yep.
right? So I also can say, you know what? I haven't always done my due diligence. I may not have always been, but I wasn't always who I am today either.
Yes. Girl, that is so
So
good.
going
So good.
through some of the things that I've gone through in life has also matured me. So
Mhm.
I'm a different friend today than I was at a different point in my life. And because of that, I also can give people grace. Like, that doesn't mean we
Yeah.
need to be friends again, but I also am not angry with you. I don't hold anything against you.
No.
I don't absolutely don't wish anybody any ill will,
Right.
but I recognize that there have been times that I haven't been the best friend, just like there have been times that people haven't been the best friend to me. And so we're all good.
Amen. Girl, I know that it's a hard pill to swallow. I've had to
Yeah.
do the same thing. And like I
Yeah.
said, I even in my grief, I've told people before my sister passed away,
Yes.
going
Yeah.
on a few years now. And
Yeah.
I realized how horrible I was before supporting people in grief. I didn't
Mm.
realize the depth of it until I had to
Yeah.
experience it. And I think
Yeah.
that since then, there's a different type of empathy that I have
Mm.
when
Yeah.
people are grieving, and
Yeah.
understanding that, we don't always know what, when you're in the middle of it, you don't always know what you need. But having
Nope.
had certain friends come and sit in it with me and just
Yeah.
be there and just
Yeah.
listen, I realize how I can be more effective at helping
Yes.
others grieve when they're around me and so
Yeah.
that was definitely one of the experiences that I had that really taught me how to be a better friend, and
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
connect with people in that way so
Yeah.
that it's not
Yeah.
superficial and also not
Right.
feel like I have to
Right.
stay away.
Mm. Yeah. And that's an interesting piece, right? That sometimes because of our discomfort, we stay away
Hmm.
because this is unfamiliar, this is uncomfortable. And so I think really it's unfortunate that you had to go through it to understand it, but it's also a blessing that even in your pain, that it's like, but now I understand that this is what it is, and I can take from it.
Amen. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know, One of my favorite scriptures that I latched on to that time, just to kind of like bring it all around for me, was
Mhm.
is that, we should be comforting those who mourn,
Yeah,
and being in joy with those
yep,
who have joy,
yeah,
and comforting those who are mourning. And I think
yeah,
this season has been that, right? Like, there's been
yeah.
so many wonderful highs, and then there's been so many like
So many
moments
lows.
of just sheer exhaustion and grief. And I
Hmm.
think that we are turning the corner with a lot of things, and but now, and I'm going to tie this in because we're
Yeah,
getting close to the hour. This is
yeah,
where our series that we're going to be doing
yes,
comes in, right? Let's
yeah,
talk about um, how we're going to do a wellness series. It's the road to
yeah,
wellness. And
yeah.
Dr. Angel, I want you to just kind of jump in here and talk about why this is so important and what are the some of the tenets we're going to discuss.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to tap onto the 8 dimensions of wellness, and I'm not going to try to pop all of them off at the top of my head. Um, but it's really important because if you are in a space where you're not feeling balanced or well in one area, then it impacts every other area of your life. So we're going to talk about wellness in your spirituality. We're going to talk about wellness in your finances. We're going to talk about wellness in your emotions. We're going to talk about wellness in your social circle. So we're going to talk about a lot of different spaces, but this year has taken a lot from us. It has depleted us in a lot of ways. It's made us feel overwhelmed. It's made us feel lost. So we really want to talk about how can we work on feeling well in these spaces, but also getting back to what we feel, back to how we want to feel. One of the tenets is also our environment, right? And recognizing that our environment is not just like, okay, concretely this room, but also who do I allow in my space? What do I have in my space? So really touching on all these dimensions of wellness, how they're interconnected, and how we can really even do simple things to improve how we're feeling in these spaces. So we really think that talking about these things can really help and enlighten and also give you tips to how you can simply improve your life in these different spaces.
Yes, thank you. I love the intro. See, she got me all into this one, and then I got sucked in because not only was it something that is important to both of us. I, okay, so here's a moment of transparency. I'm terrible sometimes with really doing self care the way that I should. I am a typical woman. I put everybody ahead of myself. And so I love doing these kinds of talks because it reminds me of things that maybe I've done before in the past that I've now gotten away from, or
Mm-hmm.
thing it gives me great ideas about things that I can do moving forward in order to
Mm-hmm.
help me stay well and healthy, not only mentally but physically. So I
Mm-hmm.
am excited, and I'll let
Yeah.
you know that this was the presentation pretty much that we did, but we're going to expound on it a little more so you can get the full uh
Okay.
the full so we don't have to cut back. We can just let it go and just talk about it the way we want to. And we
Yep.
want this to be a safe space where you feel you can come get information, connect, and talk about it. So moving forward, we're so excited. We want you to get in the chat. We want you to talk about it. We're going to be posting this on YouTube, posting it, segments and pieces of it on Instagram. So you guys can go back and talk about it. We want you to engage in this conversation with us because honestly, sisters, we know there is a lot going on. You are juggling a lot. I'm juggling a lot. Everybody's juggling a lot, but we don't have to do it alone. Let's try to connect in these spaces, talk about it, and let's try to move some of this weight off of us. That's we've been
Yeah.
carrying for far too long. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
And I think it'll
right.
be great to see like how everybody is feeling once you start to make some of these changes and implement some of this in your life and even just look at how these dimensions connect.
Yes. I think that one of the things I learned, even when we did the presentation, it is really funny because we did the presentation. I knew what we were going to talk about most of the time. But when we both started researching in different things, there were things that were even illuminated to me still that I could work on.
Yeah.
And just that feeling of, I know when we presented it before, it was a wonderful feeling of camaraderie in the room and support and encouragement. And I think we need to do more of that. I think we don't always say this is a great thing, or, we like to glaze over the things that we do well and beat ourselves up for the things we don't do
Hmm.
well. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The negative stuff sticks in our head so much, and people could give us a compliment, and it's like, oh, thanks. But people put us down, and we're like, I have a friend who, when I say, like, oh, you're so great at such and such, they're like, you're right. And I'm like, I want to be like that. Like, you can take a compliment. Why can't I take a compliment?
We are horrible at taking compliments, aren't we? I had to learn to do that.
Yeah.
That was something I had to learn to do. I think because there just things from my childhood would make me not
Yeah.
believe that, oh, like even to this day, I catch myself doing that sometimes and I got to check myself. Oh, wait, don't do that. Nope, nope, nope. Fix
Right.
that. Yes, you
Right.
are this. And I think people, and we'll talk about this too, in one of the weeks. And I will be posting like what we're going to talk about each week. But um, you know how you just have that imposter syndrome where you think, and then you go back and look,
Absolutely.
right? And you're like, wait a minute, I did do all of this stuff. Why am I
Right.
doubting myself and my abilities? So
Right.
I think sometimes we get caught up in that too.
Hmm.
Like,
Definitely. We do. We do.
after all that
Imposter
work you
syndrome is
did, you should
real.
be okay.
No. Mm-mm. It's still this ongoing reminding yourself every day. I do daily affirmations because it's this ongoing reminding yourself,
Yes.
like, I am good enough, I am worthy, I'm all these things
Yes.
every day.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
Angel, I am so glad that we were able to kick it off. I hope our audience is now getting a taste of what this show will look like going
Yes,
forward.
me too.
We'll have try to get some special guests on to talk about some of these
Yeah.
topics with us. I have some wonderful friends that would love to do this. That's another thing I did make a lot of new connections in this season. And so I'm so looking forward to us interviewing some of them and some of
Yeah,
your friends, because I know you have some wonderful people that we can bring in
absolutely.
to talk about some of these topics as well. I am just, again, so excited so that we can
Me
share the
too.
space together. And
Yeah,
I really hope that you all will share this program with others
me too.
and connect with us on our social media sites. And, we will post all of those after this underneath the video. And I will definitely be going back, checking comments, and hopefully going forward, we'll have a more interactive space that we can do this in. We just wanted to kick it off and make sure I got to introduce you to my new co-host and my wonderful friend, Dr. Angelle Richardson. We are so excited to be here and so
Yes,
excited that
we
you have
are.
joined us this evening. Angelle, any closing final remarks you want to have?
Just thank you so much. I'm so excited to be the new co-host, and I look forward to getting to know everyone better and you getting to know me as well.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, same time next week. We will be here. You all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for anybody who joined us. And we can't wait to be on the rise. So, as I always end the show with, keep rising and bring somebody with you. We'll see you next week.